Well, hey folks, welcome back to the Slice Studios, newly redesigned for the grass court season. We've got some amazing drama to get into between the PTPA and the ATP. The PTPA, as you've probably seen the announcements, have come out today or yesterday with brand new branding and announcements on more of their organization and clearer messaging. So that's big news because the ATP is not happy about that. So they followed it up with a statement of their own, reacting to that without actually mentioning the PTPA by name, which is hilarious. So we're going to get into the drama, get into who could be right? What are the different possibilities of what could happen? Could this be an existential threat to the ATP like they think it is? Or will this make the ATP better and the players get paid more money? Let's get into it on this episode of The Slice.
You're coming at you from the Delray Beach Open Miami Open down here in the grounds. This is Novak and Dominic DeAndre. We are here with the man. Neil's around it. Welcome to The Slice.
Well, thanks for being here, folks. If you've never been here before, this is The Slice. I'm Stephen Boughton, and this is where we give you the best tennis news about the world of tennis on the internet, and we bring you closer to the players than anywhere else. So click the subscribe button to not miss any videos, and like this video if you love this type of journalism. Like the video if you're a Djokovic fan, like the video if you're a Federer fan, like the video if you're a Nadal fan, and if you're just a fan of tennis, like it anyways too. Thanks, guys. So the PTPA came out last year. We heard a lot about it at last year's U.S. Open. Let's just go over the timeline quickly. So September 2020, Vasek Pospisil and Novak Djokovic, with a bunch of other players, stand on the court. They kind of put out this standing photo. It kind of looks weird, a little bit like end times-ish, where they're like, we're forming the PTPA, and we're going to combat, what we don't think is, or what we think is unfair treatment of players, and we're going to be representatives of the players' best interest. But right as that happened, other players, like a lot of the top players, like Nadal and Federer, among others, like Feliciano Lopez, I think Andy Murray wasn't on board right away, said they weren't on board. They didn't support the PTPA and they supported the ATP. The ATP back then said it was an existential threat to the ATP as we know it. That was back in September 2020, and there was no real messaging follow-up after that. It was kind of, like just objectively a PR disaster. Like there was no real clear, this is what we are and this is what we're doing. Then fast forward to March 2021, and Vasek Pospisil, Canadian, our guy, has a meltdown in Miami on court in his loss in his first round, where he was clearly emotional about it, and he yelled at the chair umpire in quote that he was screamed at by the leader of the ATP for an hour in a player meeting yesterday. So Andrea Gaudenzi, the chairman of the ATP, apparently yelled at Vasek Pospisil, saying like he's entitled, which is hilarious, kind of dominating him in that situation. But then pictures also come out of Gaudenzi wearing this vest, which I don't know. Can you trust anyone that wears a vest like that, especially a guy like Andrea Gaudenzi? I don't know. So there's obviously the drama is brewing. Vasek Pospisil goes away, and he literally hasn't played until now, and where he's playing at Mallorca or Eastbourne, can't remember. But he said he just took some time off to like recalibrate. I'm like, did he get suspended by the ATP? Like hush hush, like you never know. There's some possibilities there. And then June 2021, right now the PTPA comes out with their organization. So they've organized themselves. It seems like they've hired outside people to run their association. And if you've seen the news statements, it all is in there, but just some of the highlights. They hired Adam Larry, don't know who that is, to be the executive director. They hired this big PR firm headed by Carrie Gerlach Cecil to do the PR. That's probably something that they need. And a bunch of advisors to make an advisory board, including billionaire Bill Ackman. So kind of interesting people there on board, and that's going to make them have a lot more weight behind what they do. Now, if I'm explaining the drama here, a lot of the drama is just in the unknown. I think the ATP thinks, what is happening here? The Association of Tennis Professionals is already a players' association in its essence. It's not like an official league where it's just, I don't really know, to be honest, how they're like totally differently set up. But an association, the idea is that the players and the tournaments have an equal share in what's going on, and they're both putting on this tour. So that's what the ATP has stated in their reaction to the PTPA coming out. And the ATP letter says, in quote, the creation of a separate player entity doesn't say PTPA. In nowhere in their letter do they acknowledge the PTPA's existence, but they say the creation of a separate player entity provides a clear overlap, divides the players, and further fragments the sport. Fragmentation has been consistently identified as the single biggest threat to tennis's growth potential by leading experts. And that probably is true. So if you're looking at this from objectively both sides, I don't know who I support. I don't know who's kind of right in this. I do agree that players further down the ladder in tennis need more money, like futures players especially, challenger players more. I don't really feel bad at all for guys like Vasek Pospisil, to be honest. He's never won an ATP title in singles. He's probably made like a ton of money in his career. You could look it up. And he, it's not like so it's not like they're hard done by at that level. But if, they're valiantly fighting for like futures players and challenger players, I get that. But I'm not sure that is their entire motivation in this. And then you look at the ATP, they're like, well, in the last year, every single tournament that got put on basically took a loss financially, and the players still got paid a good percentage of the winnings that they would have the previous year. So if they were actually 50-50 partners in these tournaments, the players technically should have been making $0, because if the tournaments ran a loss just putting them on, that would kind of make sense. I don't know. I'm probably getting in a little bit above in water deeper than my credentials where they're at. This is just my opinion from the outside in. But let's look at this from what could happen. What could be the best case scenario? Best case scenario is the PTPA somehow gets more money to the players lower down, makes the entire game of tennis stronger, and everyone's happy. Is that going to happen? Definitely not. Worst case scenario is a player strike. So the PTPA could be like, you guys aren't the ATP or the Grand Slams, whatever. They're not meeting our demands. We're just not showing up to this tournament and playing. And then who loses out in that? The fans. We do. So we can't have that happen. But I don't think it will happen because the PTPA is not comprised of all the players. If you take another league like, say, the NHL, for example, the National Hockey League, there's an NHL Players Association, but all the players are in that. So when they had the lockout, it's because all of the players or the representatives for the players were like, we can't come to an agreement, da-da-da. But if Djokovic and Pospisil and all these other players are in the PTPA, and then Federer and Nadal aren't, and the PTPA is like, we're not showing up to the Australian Open this year, and then then Federer and Nadal have a way better chance of winning it. But they also have just not the same bargaining power if it's not fully collective in it. So until the PTPA gets all the players in or doesn't, I don't think it'll be as much of a threat. I think they'll just kind of be like the Karens in the room. They'll be like the stern mom at the school board meeting where they come in, they're demanding all their demands, and people might listen, they might not. But it gets messy, and I definitely understand what the ATP is saying about further fragmentation, because we already have the Player Council at the ATP, who is the Association of Tennis Professionals, and then we have the Grand Slams, we have the ITF. It's just a mess already. So now the PTPA is going to make that better somehow. I don't really see how that's possible. They've always repeated, we're not a union, but all these things end up acting like a union. I don't know if the NHLPA is a union, but they definitely act like a union because they go on strike. So I hope that the PTPA doesn't become something like those other ones, even though the NHLPA, the MLBPA, all these other player associations have expressed support of the PTPA. It makes me think that they will, if they're successful, becoming some type of total union acting like association. But again, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I just tried to summarize all the news for you guys here so we can talk about it down below, because the Slice community knows how to debate a hot topic. If we know how to do anything, it's how to debate a hot topic. So let me know what your thoughts are on the ATP and the PTPA. It's a lot of P's. In their conflict, whose side are you on? Who do you think has the best interests of the tennis world and the fans? Because really, we're the most important people, the fans. Let's be real. Who's got the best interest of tennis at heart? We'll see down in the discussions below. Upcoming, obviously, the Wimbledon coverage, which will be presented by Rally Tennis, is going to be kicking off on Friday when the draw comes out. And we got just so much going on right now. There's going to be another video soon after this right here, Tennis This Week. This Week in Tennis, the Twitch show. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for being here, folks. Make sure you click the like button and the subscribe button. Get 10% off brand new tennis gear at Courtside Sports, and check out Bear Mountain for your next tennis destination. Thanks for being here, folks. We'll see you in the comments section below.